All right, so you want to grow your business, but here's the deal. You also don't want to fail your business, because I'm here to tell you, had a few successes, but I've also had a couple of very, very painful failures where, yeah, I lost a lot of money, but also lost a lot of time, a lot of dignity, and it was just downright painful. So I want to help you avoid all that pain by giving you, I could probably call this a highlight reel or a low light reel of some of my biggest mistakes. But if this can help you avoid missteps and get to where you want to go faster, then you're going to pay close attention, especially to number 5, okay? So let's start out with number 1. The number 1 reason why a lot of businesses fail is because they don't have a demand. You've got to make sure right out of the gates, before you spend one dime or 1 minute of your time, that you've got an idea that is actually in demand. So instead of just coming up with, oh, I've got an idea, or I think I could put this here, you've actually got to validate that idea. And the good news is I've got a couple tricks to help you do that. First and foremost is, if you're doing, for example, an online or a national kind of business, is doing Google Trends. When you go to Google Trends, it basically will show you what the demand is, how often people are typing in a particular term into a search engine, how that trend has looked over time. A great tool to use. Another tool, another kind of trick to really demand what the interest is before you build, for example, let's just say you sell a product online, before you build a product, and before you build a website and spend a lot of time and a lot of energy, I learned this trick from a book called Lean Startup. What you can do is create sort of a pseudo kind of fake sales page, if you will, run a Facebook ad, and find out if people are even interested enough to click it. Because the reality of it is, if they're not interested enough to actually click on what it is that you want to buy, and on the other side of that button, you could just have a, cool, we're coming soon, give me your email and I'll let you know when it's ready. But if you can't even present that and get people to show an interest, then you might save yourself a lot of time and energy, because I've built products that nobody had an interest in, and it really, really sucks. All right, number 2 is, in addition to having a demand, you also got to make sure you've got a supply. And that might sound pretty darn obvious, but I can tell you, I'll give you a perfect example. One time we started a company that provided, if you imagine going to a festival, whether it's a music festival or an art festival, and there's always the coolest, most unique stuff there. And these vendors don't generally sell online, right? So what I wanted to do was, for years I went and I made contacts with all these vendors, and I got all these products. And I was like, okay, cool. So now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sell your stuff on the internet. And when I need more stuff, I just need you to send me more and I'll fulfill it for you. You don't have to worry about anything. And everybody was so excited and so happy to have a whole new marketing channel. They didn't have to worry about a thing. And well, on the bright side, it worked, and people bought the products, and we showed that there was a demand for it. But then as soon as we ran out, I would go to these vendors, and I quickly realized why they didn't have an online business, because they were all over the place. So when I would say, hey, I need 10, of these handmade widgets, they go, oh yeah, I'll get it to you. And I wouldn't hear from them. And it's just, bottom line is, equally important to the supply, to the demand, is you got to make sure you have the supply. All right, number 3 is not having a unique selling proposition. And I'm here to tell you, it's okay to have competition. And in fact, if you look up your idea and nobody is doing it, there might be a reason for that. So don't get scared off just because you see there's a lot of other people doing it. And a perfect example that pops in my head is email marketers. I like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would have thought that was such a crowded space that nobody would be able to come out with a new email marketer and do well. And you look at some of the most popular email marketers today, like Drip is a new one that I think of, an Active Campaign, and a lot of these new ones, they were not even existent in the marketplace, but what they did is they came in and they had something unique, and they were able to beat the old dinosaurs at their game. And the personal example I just want to share with you here is, I used to own a company called boardgames.com, and I thought that, the fact that we were boardgames.com, that gave us enough clout that we could do what we wanted, and that we had to sell board games, right? We have to sell board games, we're boardgames.com. The reality of it is we had nothing unique, all right? We tried to jazz it up, we tried to put lipstick on it, But the reality of it is Amazon.com sold the same games that we did, and we could not compete on price. So you got to make sure you have a unique selling proposition, because I lost a lot of money. And more importantly, I really lost out on a dream because I was focusing on the wrong aspect of the business. All right. Number 4 is not knowing your numbers. And I'll go right back to boardgames.com here. I thought to myself, well, of course we have to sell Connect 4 and Monopoly and all these other games, right? We couldn't be boardgames.com and not sell Monopoly. Well, unfortunately, I didn't take the time to really understand the numbers behind that. I didn't take the time to think, okay, so I'm buying a game that's this big, that is the lowest profit margin item that you can imagine, because we're buying from Hasbro. And when you go to ship it, you're paying extra shipping because it doesn't fit in a flat rate box. And what we realized after, sending out hundreds and hundreds of orders is that every single package that we had that had a mainstream game in it, we were losing money on. Like, we were literally selling things at a loss. So you gotta know your numbers. So this is a golden rule. I would write this one down, take this to the bank. If you can't make it work on paper, you can't make it work in the real world, okay? So ideally what you wanna do is pencil out the general, okay, this is what it's gonna cost me, this is what the advertising is, and if you wanna get fancy, build a financial model. One of the greatest exercises I ever did. I did that in my first successful business, and then I failed to do it in my second business, which failed miserably. All right, number 5 is a business is very likely to fail if it doesn't make money fast. When I was new to business, I used to waste all my time on trying to raise capital. That was where all my attention was going, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go raise $1 million. First of all, nobody wants to give you $1 million if you haven't proven that you can make money. So instead of focusing on trying to raise money, focus that energy on making revenue and making it as fast as you possibly can. Because when you make real revenue, you're creating real value. And if you want to raise money, you'll be able to do it, but at a much better valuation. So remember to build your MVP, as they call it, your minimal viable product, and to bootstrap that thing as long as you possibly can. If you need to go out and get 10 or 20,000 bucks, or you need to use a couple credit cards, great. But when you just figure out, how do I sell something? Even if it's not my final thing, if I want to build this grandiose thing, but I can take the main piece of that matters the most, and I can go implement it for this business, and they can pay me to do it, getting that real revenue not only makes you more valuable, it's not only way better than investment capital, but you learn so much in the process. And the 6th and final point that I want to share with you is make sure that you have some sort of marketing plan. If you've got a poor marketing strategy, you're really in for big trouble. Now, here's what I want to tell you. You don't necessarily need to have every way under the sun that you're going to market your business. And the reality of it is that every business is different. I made the mistake of, back in the day, I used to be an SEO guy, so I would be all focused on SEO. And then I made a major shift over to paid advertising. And then what happened was when I started a new business, because paid advertising is what I'd been used to for those several years, I focused all the attention on paid advertising, and it turns out that was a poor model for that particular business. I'm talking about the board game business. I wish what I would have done, owning boardgames.com, is created a lot of content, right? So every business is a little bit different. You probably want to just pick a few of the primary marketing strategies that you want to start with, and specifically, you should at least know one that's going to become your bread and butter. The example that pops in my head is Emily, my wife, is always on Instagram, and the perfect product always pops up. So Instagram is perfect for those consumer goods that are very unique. Or if you're developing an app, for example, and you want to run that app in the App Store, that's great. Probably the most overlooked marketing strategy that's really great for a lot of reasons is having strategic partnerships. So for example, we provide this particular thing, and this company provides the sister product to that. How can we work with them and be able to bolt our product onto them, or include our product as a bonus with theirs, or whatever that thing might be. So just know that having that unique strategic partnership in a way to ride the coattails of somebody else while providing them value in something that they wouldn't do, if you can create those no-brainer win-win relationships, then you're off to the races. So those are the 6 things that you want to avoid, with tips on how to make sure that you avoid each one of them. And hopefully this will save you a lot of heartache and get you where you want to go faster and go make that money. Cheers. Nice going, champ, but we don't have to stop here. If you want to really be ambitious, click on one of these videos, or if you want to go the extra mile, hover over my head, click on subscribe, and then click the little bell. If you want some free goodies, go to swipemystuff.com, and I'll see you in the next training.